So Liverpool are in talks with Crystal Palace over the signing of Marc Guéhi and believe the defender wants to join them. We understand Liverpool have opened talks with Palace for the England international. Palace value Guéhi at £40 million, but Liverpool will not overpay. That's because he has entered the final year of his contract. Right, Tim, everybody seems to have been saying that Liverpool need a centre-back, and Guéhi is the obvious name that stands out. So what do you think of this potential move?
I think you said it at the end there when you said he's got 1 year left of his contract. I think it's inevitable now, especially with less revenue because they're not in Europa League. It was very unfortunate. A technicality was knocked him out of that. At Palace, I just think it's going to be a problem for them to keep hold of him now. I think Marc will. He's obviously been very professional about it. He's kept very quiet. If a team like Liverpool, we know what it's like with Alexander Isak, they've turned his head, the champions of the Premier League, looks very promising for the future of that football club. To have an opportunity to be able to join them, I think it's a very attractive proposition for someone like Marc Guéhi, and I can see it happening, I really could.
It doesn't seem like there's anyone else in at this stage. Is that purely because it's Liverpool and they think, well, we probably can't compete with them right now because they're the champions? Possibly. I think you've seen it, especially with Newcastle this window, that, there's nothing worse than going for a player and then getting knocked back. So you'd like to get all your eggs in a row as an agent and as a player. And certainly as a club, if you're going to go for an individual, you want to make sure you're going to be able to get him. Otherwise, it looks like you get egg on your face in the end. And I think Liverpool are the bully boys at the moment, because they've done so well with Arne Slot last season. They are the champions. And it is probably the most attractive move in the Premier League this season. Remember that on this show you can send in voice notes giving us your opinions, and Joe has sent one in this morning. He thinks that Liverpool need to sign both Guéhi and Alexander Isak. He said,
this is Joe from Athy in Kildare in Ireland, and I think on the subject of Marc Guéhi being the most important signing for Liverpool, I think from the Charity Shield, that was definitely a priority that we needed to address. So it's good to see that we're addressing it, but I still think we're short up top, as it showed when Ekitike came off later in the game. So I think if we can get another forward, preferably Isak, over the line, and Guéhi, both deals will be very important.
Both deals very important, Joe says, Tim, and you've said how important the Guéhi deal would be. I mean, getting that centre-back in, yes, but they have signed, Wirtz, Ekitike, they're still after Isak. Would he really be the most important one for them?
For me, the most important one is Alexander Isak. You're absolutely right, Tom. They have got the firepower. They've shown that they can score goals. They've signed Wirtz as well, who's a very good player. Still got Mo Salah. Looks like he's happy at the club now. You see his numbers year in, year out. But I just feel, if you was to ask Pep Guardiola and Mikel Arteta, who I think were going to be the two managers who get closest to Liverpool this season, which player they don't want to see join Liverpool Football Club, I think the one name would be Isak. He's a superstar. He's already rehearsed. We already know what he can do in a decent team in Newcastle. I just think he is the player that the whole neutral footballing world does not want to see go to Liverpool Football Club, because if they do, they're going to be a serious proposition on all fronts.
Well, we're going to get the Newcastle side of the Isak deal a little bit later on, but on Guéhi, it's also quite a frightening prospect for other clubs to see him linking up with Virgil van Dijk at centre-back, wouldn't it?
I'd be great. I mean, he's a good player. We know he's a good player, and he seems like he's stayed very quiet. He knows that he's holding all the cards. Whether it happens now or whether it happens next year on a free transfer, there'll be a queue around the corner for Marc Guéhi next season. He can take his pick, but normally you wait. If the pick's not there, if he's not out there for you, then you wait as a player. But if his, like I said, how attractive the move is to Liverpool, if they're there now. And they're willing to pay the price, I think Steve Parish and Crystal Palace would wish him well and move him on his way, and it will be a fantastic signing for Liverpool Football Club.
Yeah, it seems like it would be a good signing for Liverpool. Now, Sky are partnering with Finalising, an app where passionate fans known as Fanlists share their opinions on their club. And today we're joined by Liverpool fanlist Abigail Rudkin. Good morning to you, Abigail. Great to see you. Right, first of all, on Guéhi, how good a signing would that be?
I think it'd be a brilliant signing. I think, to be honest, we've seen gaps in the defence in this pre-season. I don't know if it comes down to Van Dijk's been ill. He took a bit of time out being unwell. You know, there's things like that. There's obviously things around Konaté's contract. So I think there's stuff around that that's sort of circulating around the defence, and if we could get another centre-back in, I think it'd be really, really good. I'm not saying it's the most important thing, because obviously up front I feel as though Ekitike has been very, very important to get in when we've moved on Diaz, you know, we've moved on Nunes, and sadly we lost Jota. So we're in a situation now where probably we need another forward, which if you can get Alexander Isak, that's amazing. But if you can get Guéhi at the back and you can sort of start to let him learn from Virgil van Dijk, you know, learn from Konaté, and I don't think he's going to start straight away. I wouldn't say he's better than Virgil van Dijk or better than Konaté, but Liverpool have got to start planning ahead now. If Konaté decides he doesn't want to sign a deal, Arne Slot needs to start thinking about the future of Liverpool. So I think maybe you do put Guéhi in then, once he's learned the ropes at Liverpool quite quick. I mean, he's a captain. Liverpool like to have captains in their side. You can just tell from the leaders that we've got in the team. So it feels like a strong one to bring in. It does, especially when he's just won silverware.
Abigail, it sounds like you would originally be seeing him potentially as a squad player, but surely he wouldn't sign as a squad player given that he's got a World Cup coming up next year.
Yeah, I don't think he'd want to. I think that's something that he needs to keep in mind. I've seen a lot of Crystal Palace fans coming forward and saying if he wants to be in that World Cup squad, he probably will start every game at Palace, and that's really important. But I think when it comes to Liverpool, you don't just get a place in the first team straight away. I think he's sort of got to earn that, and he is. Obviously, he's a brilliant quality player, but when you've got Konaté and Van Dijk together in that pairing and you're going for another league title, I understand there is time for transition there and time to learn, but for me, it just feels as though you can't change too much. Liverpool are in a situation now where it feels like there's lots of change. Lots of players have moved on, and it's starting to feel very, very, very different. And I don't know if I'd be willing to just straight away be like, okay, we'll swap Konaté out there then and, you know, make those changes. So I think it'd be a steady transition. Even Alexander Isak, to be honest. I mean, a lot of people are saying he goes straight in. I'm not 100% convinced that he goes straight in if we sign them before the league starts. I think that maybe you do give Ekitike that chance. So I don't know, it's one of those things that we'll have to see. I know a lot of people will disagree with me on the Isak thing.
I've got a feeling Tim might actually. Tim, if he's going to cost up to £150 million, would he go straight in for you?
I think he goes straight in because he hasn't got to get used to the Premier League. He's already got used to that. We know he's a prolific goal scorer in a team which wasn't as good as Liverpool, where he's going to get so much firepower and service in and around him. I'd just like to ask Abigail, if you had one choice, Abigail, who are you taking? Are you going to take in Guéhi? You can only have one. It looks like you don't want either of them, by the sounds of it. But if you could have Isak or Guéhi, who are you taking right now?
I mean, that's a bit of nonsense because I want them all. I want both of them. If I could have all of them, I'd be very happy. I think if you'd have asked me a week ago, I'd have definitely have said Isak because I've had my heart set on him for a very, very long time now. I think if you'd have asked any Liverpool fan at the start of the season last year, who do you want to see come in eventually at Liverpool, you'd have said Isak. But now, after I've seen a few cracks in the defence over the pre-season, I'm sort of starting to think we definitely need Guéhi. But if you have an opportunity as a football club to sign the best striker possibly in the world, maybe even in the world right now in Alexander Isak, you've got to go and do that. And you never know, Guéhi might run down his contract at Newcastle and then we can go and get him for a free next season when, you know, Konaté decides to move on by the looks of it. So I would say Alexander Isak, if you've got that money sitting there to go and sign him and we'll stay within PSR with that, I think you've got to go and sign Isak more than going to get Guéhi. I do think that option would still be there in a year's time.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just think the biggest rival to you this season for me is going to be Arsenal. And I would say if they was to sign Alexander Isak, it would give you a real problem to win the Premier League. So
Yeah.
so to take him to your football club almost sets you apart from anyone. I just think the rest of them might as well pack their bags and go home.
I think anyone who Alexander Isak plays for is going to be a competitive team. I think at the end of the day, if he'd have signed for Arsenal, I'd have been a lot more panicky right now, because I do feel as though we are favourites as Liverpool. I think we were favourites before the Isak rumours were coming about. I still think that when we signed Wirtz and Kerkers and Frimpong and even Ekitike, you know, Newcastle wanted Ekitike. I think when we signed those players, that sort of made us further favourites than we already were. So I think if you sign Alexander Isak, it sets you apart from the rest. So it definitely does. I don't think Guéhi has that same effect. So it is very exciting to be a Liverpool fan right now and be able to be talking about those two players.
Yeah, well, so exciting that you say Isak might be the best striker in the world, but you'd still put him on the bench, Abigail. That's how we're going to remember you on today's show. Thanks, Abigail. Great to speak to you. Speak to you again soon.
Nice to speak to you.
Right, okay, our poll today, by the way, which is live, we are asking you very simply, in terms of Liverpool, which player would be a more important signing? Would it be Alexander Isak? Would it be Marc Guéhi? So basically, who do Liverpool need more? At the moment, 57 of you are saying Marc Guéhi.
Do you know who's voting there? Arsenal fans and Man City fans.
Yeah, I think you might be right there. You might be right there. And Newcastle fans as well, maybe as well. Okay, but in terms of that time, you've answered that question. You very much believe that it is Isak.